Father Matthias apparently considered the Angel Scroll to be one of the most important and thrilling documents of all time, and one of the earliest sources for both Jewish and Christian historic and mystic literature. Here, it speaks of multiple parallel worlds or dimensions that circle the Earth, in addition to some of the life forms that inhabit these realms. This text apparently makes reference to an angel, labeled as a quote-unquote watcher, that can facilitate a form of time travel. On October 27, 1954, during a match between Fiorentina and their nearby rivals Pistoiese at the Stadio Artemio Franchi in Italy, both teams and nearly 10,000 spectators fell silent as they witnessed a UAP traveling at high speed abruptly stop over the stadium. 9 days later, on November 5, 1954, Italian diplomat Dr. Alberto Perego reported seeing a fleet of UFOs over the Vatican City, 270 kilometers away. This second sighting involved multiple flying objects moving in formation to create a geometric pattern before instantly separating and disappearing from sight at a tremendous speed. Dr. Perego, who was just one of hundreds of witnesses, reported the sighting to numerous Italian agencies, including the Vatican and its astronomical observatory. For a while, the source of these two encounters remained unexplained until decades later in 1974, when Benedictine monks purchased an ancient parchment discovered deep within the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. It's unclear whether the monks reported the find to Jordan's Department of Antiquities, as they were very quick to move the parchment out of the country and to their monastery, situated on the German-Austrian border. It was not until 1999 when the news outlet the Jerusalem Report revealed that upon the passing of one of the monks who was in charge of studying the writings within the parchment, that the monastery declared that the text belonged to the collection of books known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. The question is, why would the Vatican want to keep the scroll in particular hidden? This specific parchment, now dubbed the Angel Scroll, is considered as one of the most important ancient texts on angelology ever written. According to several contemporary French theorists, this scroll serves as an ancient technical manual for the craft that will be used in a coming alien invasion, first heralded by the encounter seen above Italy in 1954, and is predicted to begin perhaps sometime in the 21st century. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad ad-Deeb was tending to his flock in the vicinity of the Dead Sea. While searching for a lost sheep, he came across a cave in the cliffs along the northwestern shore of the sea, near what is now known as Qumran. Inside the cave, he found a collection of large clay jars, and within these jars, he stumbled upon ancient scrolls and parchment wrapped in linen. These documents, which became known as the Dead Sea Scrolls, were discovered to contain every Old Testament book except the Book of Esther, with minimal but significant differences, initially over a period of months, then years followed by decades. New additional fragments that make up the complete collection were discovered, although some were subsequently deemed as forgeries. Question marks remain over others pertaining to their legitimacy and content. One such scroll is the Angel Scroll. This parchment, apparently 1,000 lines long, was discovered in Jordan on the steep western slopes of the mountain descending to Wadi al-Mujab, southeast of the Dead Sea. In 1970, it was purchased by a group of Benedictine monks and taken likely without the Jordanian authorities' permission to their monastery on the German-Austrian border. Upon his passing in 1977, one of the group, Father Gustav Matthias, gave his photographs and hand transcriptions of the scroll to an unnamed college administrator. He in turn handed the material over to Stephen Fan, a member of the team of scholars translating the scrolls held by the Israeli government, and his findings were released to the news outlet the Jerusalem Report. Fan stated that if the scroll is a hoax, it's a very good one, as it's still a serious literary work. However, given its perceived legitimacy at the time of its 1999 reveal, where it even garnered the attention of the international media, in the 25 years since, no further information about the text has been made to the public. Consequently, this has led many to conclude that the parchment is just another Dead Sea Scrolls forgery, despite no one involved in its discovery ever gaining anything from its alleged notoriety. Yet, in the 2 decades since, rumors that the scroll may have been confiscated from the Benedictine monks, transported to Rome, and sealed deep within the Vatican archives persist. The question is, why would the Vatican want to keep the scroll hidden? Well, the answer may include hints within its texts to time travel and a near future event that may significantly change the course of human history in ways no one could possibly anticipate. That being a full-scale invasion. The question is, an invasion from where and by whom? In the 1950s, the National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena, a civilian UFO research group active in the United States from the 1950s to the 1980s, recorded multiple instances of UAP activity over Italy that year, with at least 2 specifically occurring above the Vatican City. According to the report, the Italian diplomat, Dr. Alberto Perego, who at that time was working in Rome, along with hundreds of other witnesses, watched a display of numerous small lights that resembled white spots, with a short white trail, form and reform in geometrical patterns, resembling the letters V and X, then separate into 2 serpentine curves that moved off in different directions. The date was November 6th, and the time was 11 a.m. Perego described that they flew in formations directly over the Vatican in the middle of the day, where they made a large formation of 20 machines. The 2 V-shaped squadrons converged rapidly until the vertex of the 2 V's met, thus forming a perfect quote-unquote St. Andrew's cross of 40 machines, with 10 to each bar. According to the report, the convergence occurred at an estimated altitude of 7,500 meters above the Trastevere Monte Mario district of Rome, and consequently right over the Vatican City itself. A few days later, Perego went to the Vatican Observatory, where his sightings were corroborated. In one of his books detailing the strange event, he stated,
"I visited the Vatican Observatory at Castel Gandolfo, near Rome. There, the director of the Specola Vaticana, Father Zilves, informed me that at about 11 o'clock on November 12th, a Brazilian priest who was on duty in the observatory had seen some strange objects pass twice over the observatory, very low at terrific speed and with no sound."
3 days earlier, the CIA accidentally became involved after a US Navy commander based in Washington, D.C., Mr. Alvin E. Moore, who was working for the Scientific Intelligence Department of the CIA at the time, reported a remarkably similar phenomenon on November 9, 1954, above the US Capitol. According to Alvin, the event was exactly the same as the 2 that occurred in the Vatican days earlier. He testified that,
"When I left the office at 5 p.m., I saw in the western half of the sky, and mainly in the southwestern quadrant, Above the long, narrow, horizontal sky ribbon were two huge X's or crosses of pearly white vapor. I thought that in medieval days, an observer of such huge crosses in the sky probably would have considered them an omen. They looked, however, more like X's than crosses having right-angle parts, and I concluded that each of 4 flying saucer emissions of propulsion materials had crossed another to form the X's above the horizontal, ribbon-like line of gas or vapor.
Alvin Moore's account appeared in the magazine, the quaintly named Flying Saucer Review, where its editor Gordon Creighton and the reporter who wrote the story stated that the phenomena was possibly satanic given the historic and religious significance of both Washington, D.C. and the Vatican City respectively. According to the authors Chris Putnam and Thomas Horn in their book Exo Vaticana, the angel scrolls suggest an explanation as to the source of these anomalies. The description of the angels contained in the ancient Jordanian text imply the existence of entities that can be either or both technological and supernatural origin. They note that according to Stephen Fan, the text is full of divine chariot throne themes, with elaborate details of angels ascending heaven's multiple gates. This is incidentally similar to the opinions that Prophet Ezekiel allegedly encountered aliens, not angels, that match the description of what has now been termed as biblically accurate angels, with rotating appendages that seem more mechanical than biological, if biological is even a correct term for an angel. Putnam and Horn go on to note that Dr. Michael Heiser, a colleague of Fan, as well as the prominent French researcher L.A. Marzulli, make direct and indirect references to the scroll as a technical description of vehicles or entities that would partake in a future full-scale alien invasion occurring over Palestine, with Marzulli referring to a manifestation of thousands of sun disks, i.e. an army of angels that to the modern eye will seem like alien spacecraft. In the opinions of Putnam and Horn, this is perhaps why the Benedictine order wants to keep the angel scroll hidden and dismissed as a hoax, due to the implication of what such an event would have on the world and its understanding of religion in it. Most terrifyingly, the reason why Heiser and Marzulli, and by extension Pittman and Horn, believe this alien invasion would begin in the heart of the Levant is because of the global significance of this area, given that the 3 primary world faiths all have centers here, making it as good a place as any for an extraordinary intervention event to take place, be it technological, supernatural, or both. Putnam and Horn go on to note
Gordon Creighton, the editor of the Flying Saucer Review, as well as the reporter who broke the story on the Vatican and Washington, D.C. sightings, has written elsewhere concerning UFOs stating, "I do believe that the great bulk of these phenomena are actually satanic." So we're asking, might these corresponding cities of Washington and the Vatican be the chosen locations where an alien savior stages the revealing? For your information, the revealing is the name our friend and colleague L.A. Marzulli gave to his 3rd novel in the Nephilim series. The cover of this book features a fleet of flying saucers over Jerusalem. What most people don't know is that the backstory to his alien incursion was inspired by the Angel Scroll.
The 1954 sightings above Italy and the United States, where the UAPs reportedly flew in geometric formation that can be interpreted religiously, can be considered as evidence for their dual nature as both technologically alien and supernatural at the same time. But what exactly is it that makes these angels so terrifying and noteworthy? Well, the answer comes in one name that appears throughout the scroll, an angel named Penimia, an immensely powerful entity linked to a race of aliens called the Anunnaki. Father Matthias apparently considered the Angel Scroll to be one of the most important and thrilling documents of all time. and one of the earliest sources for both Jewish and Christian historic and mystic literature. Loaded with Jewish occult symbology and mystical imagery, this text apparently makes reference to an angel, labeled as a quote-unquote watcher, that can facilitate a form of time travel. Now, briefly for context, the Watchers, according to the Judeo-Christian lore, are a type of biblical angel sent to Earth to watch over humans, but eventually mated with them against the permission of God, giving birth to a race of giants that ruled across the Earth for a period of time. According to the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Watchers, led by a figure named Azazel, went against the will of God, teaching humans various forms of forbidden knowledge, in much the same manner in Islam the angels Harut and Marut is believed to have done. Enoch, a prophet who we discuss shortly, names some of these angels, including Simjaza, one of the chief angels among the Watchers. Barakil, who is said to have spearheaded the spread of astrology and astronomy among man. Rumayl, who introduced the spread of occult sciences and forbidden practices across humanity. And of course, Penimut, our mysterious watcher who can transcend time itself. These angels, amongst others, help give birth to a race of giants. While such a concept is alien to us in Islam, since we have a clear distinction between the race of jinn and the race of giants, we also have within our tradition a prophet known as Idris. Within the Dead Sea Scrolls, a significant volume of work that's attributed to him exists, known as the Book of Enoch. Idris is the Arabic name for Enoch, and although historians generally agree that his authorship here is pseudegraphical at best, meaning that they were probably penned by later writers who only used Enoch's name as the author, this angel, Penimut, is listed by him as a powerful entity with abilities that are implied to be able to transcend time itself. Now, back in the Angel Scrolls, author Andrew Collins directly stated that Penimut is shown to enable its author Yusha bin Padia to journey back in time so that he might witness creation itself. Here, he is shown the secrets of the universe, taught to contemplate signs in the sun and the stars, how to use medicinal plants and stones to cure disease, and see future events from the present. In the end, the ultimate whereabouts of the Angel Scrolls remain a mystery. However, its very existence points to a larger enigma concerning the Dead Sea Scrolls and why a degree of secrecy still surrounds them. Although this talk of transcending time and space using plants sound like a variation of Jewish mysticism for reaching the astral plane, that being a dimension between dimensions, the researcher Barry Hamish implies that this could also be a reference to a type of technology or methodology extraterrestrials could use to travel to and from Earth. He quotes a number of passages from the Angel Scroll and follows them with his literal interpretation. Here he describes Yeshua bin Padia's visit above the quote-unquote high places of the clouds with Penimut, similar to that of an astronaut traveling to space. One passage reads,
"According to the plan of that day, the voice went forth to me and directed me, and he drove me by the Spirit. And a vision was revealed to me from the Most High, and the Prince of Angels lifted me up in the Spirit, and I ascended heavenward above the high places of the clouds, and he showed me the great world and the image of the gods. And I pondered the appearance round about, and there was no time and no place, and their appearance from the dwelling places of light was like a rainbow in the clouds. And they had no bodies and no bodily structure, and the dominion of darkness was over all of the earth round about."
Hamish concludes that this is an accurate description of a trip in a vehicle like the space shuttle, stating,
"First, the traveler passes above cloud level, then he sees the earth from space, and it is surrounded by darkness. He is shown images of the gods and their homes on a control monitor and marvels at the fine color quality and at the bizarre fact that there is no firmament to the images on the screen.
Now, the authorship of the Dead Sea Scrolls is believed to belong to a group of people known as the Essenes, famously known to practice a strict form of discipline. The Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder described these people as individuals who did not marry, possessed no money, and had renounced all pleasure. They dedicated their lives to preserving the Torah and were thought to be an apocalyptic sect that was preparing for a rapture-like judgment day that would see them taken from earth by God because of their faithfulness. The late author Dolores Cannon, who specialized in past life regression and hypnosis techniques, suggested that members of the Essene community, as well as other ancient groups, may have had encounter with extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings. According to her accounts, individuals regressed under her quantum healing hypnosis technique reported memories of interactions with beings that were described as not being from Earth. These beings were sometimes interpreted as angels, higher dimensional entities, or extraterrestrial visitors. Cannon proposes that the extraterrestrial beings may have played a role in the spiritual teachings and advanced knowledge possessed by the Essenes. The idea is that these anomalous beings could have shared wisdom, guidance, and information about the nature of reality, spirituality, and human existence with the members of the Essene community. In the previous episode, we explored the theory that Atlantis was a highly influential nation, impacting the Mediterranean culturally, economically, and militarily. With many of its people settling across the peninsula, it suggested that some of its inhabitants were anomalous in origin, and that the Essenes descended from one such community. This theory posits that the Essenes were found by the Kaloo, meaning the Ancient Ones, who allegedly came from Atlantis and traveled throughout the ancient Mediterranean, reaching even Ireland. Despite that there's being no actual evidence for their existence, many believe the Kaloo had advanced technology and may well be the original architects of Atlantis itself. As essentially a religious group, the Kaloo's teaching also supposedly influenced several of the major pre-Abrahamic faiths, including the ancient Egyptian, Zoroastrian system, as well as the Jewish law. Existing during the 1st century AD, the Essenes guarded the Book of Idris and the Book of the Prophet Ezekiel, both books found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Idris' book describes 10 heavens, in which the 3rd heaven contains the Tree of Life, which was originally in the Garden of Eden on Earth. Regarding UFOs, the 2nd and 5th heavens are most relevant. The first sphere surrounding our Earth, as our atmosphere, is the 1st heaven. The 2nd contains the Watchers, while the 5th successive sphere surrounding our Earth, thousands of miles from its surface, contains other entities. Those who believe in the existence of the Watchers and believe that aliens and these class of angels are the same thing have suggested that the source of many of our modern-day encounters with extraterrestrial could be this heaven. Now, whether they believe that the 5th heaven is a separate dimensional realm or a cartographical location within our dimension is where this theory gets vague. However, in many religions and mystical traditions, including those reflected in the Book of Enoch, the idea of heaven often conveys a transcendent and supernatural reality beyond the physical dimensions we perceive. When it comes to extraterrestrials and other passages within the Dead Sea Scrolls, one of the more intriguing theories concerns Prophet Nuh, where some wildly speculate that he had access to technology not believed possible during his time, or more outlandishly, that Nuh himself either acquired alien technology to build his ark or was an alien himself. Variations of this theory have persisted for over half a century, and the fact that the CIA, since the 1940s, only relatively recently declassified many of their files pertaining to the location of the Ark, has added fuel to the theories that this ship was developed with technology anachronistic to its time. As covered in an earlier episode, the CIA's interest in Prophet Nuh's Ark was fueled by a 1959 discovery of a geological anomaly by Turkish captain Lan Durupinar while conducting a NATO mapping mission over Mount Ararat. His photographic evidence revealed a geological anomaly larger than a football field, with a smooth shape, resembling an extremely large boat. Furthermore, according to Cem Özmiral, the husband of Durupinar's niece, since before and after the discovery, the area continues to be believed by local villages as being cursed. Özmiral states that the locals who live a few miles down from the site often speak of strange disappearances and even the death of shepherds and their livestock when venturing close to where the alleged wreckage is located, suggesting that perhaps a remnant of some type of an unknown harmful energy used to power the ship may still be present in the area. But how does this link back to the Dead Sea Scrolls? In 2016, Dr. Alexei Yuditsky, a researcher working on these texts, announced that cutting-edge high-resolution photography had allowed him to read words in a fragment of the scrolls that were previously unreadable. The new words say that the Ark's tallness was gathered together at its summit, implying that the Ark was shaped like a pyramid. And in recent times, it's been posted that the ancient Egyptians were inspired to build pyramids modeled after the spacecrafts aliens allegedly visited them with. Even though this directly contradicts Durupinar's giant boat theory, the concept of Nuh having access to seemingly impossible technology remains. This takes us back to the Essenes. When writing the scrolls, could they have really been communicating with friendly aliens or angels? Or were they accessing a power far darker in origin? It's been 25 years since the international media reported on the Angel Scrolls discovery, but not much has been reported on it since, leading some academics to believe it's nothing but a hoax. However, if we were to assume it's real, where has it been since it was first publicized in 1999? Some point their fingers at the Vatican and their need to keep problematic ancient texts hidden. For instance, according to the BBC's report on the discovery of the scrolls, the texts make references to necromancy, an extremely dark form of magic allowing practitioners to resurrect corpses. Modern historians have noted that the 1st century historian Flavius Josephus even implies that Essenes' practice of occult-like ritual could bleed into such dark territories. Furthermore, the individual identified as Yeshua ben Padilla has been speculated by some to be Jesus himself. This is incredibly problematic because other sections of the Dead Sea Scrolls implicate Jesus, who is also known as Yeshua, as a member of the Essenes. Obviously, such writings canonized along the rest of the books of the Bible, be they real or a fictional prose written to entertain people of that time, could become incredibly problematic to all 3 Abrahamic traditions. Regardless, the official word from the Vatican is that there are no secret books in the Vatican archive. This statement came from Monsignor Giorgi Meia, who is the South American Archbishop in charge of the Vatican's Apostolic Library during the early 2000s. He states that apart from the documents detailing the Church's problematic relationship with Germany during the 1940s, hidden ancient occult documents are not kept in the archives under his care, since the Church has no interest in hiding such things. So, if the scrolls are not in the Vatican, then The only people who may know the truth of its contents are those monks we initially mentioned at the beginning of this episode, hidden away in a monastery somewhere on the German-Austrian border. And according to Andrew Collins, here is where the Angel Scrolls remain till this day, under a vow of silence imposed on all those who have worked on its translation. If this vow is upheld, then its secrets will, at least for now, remain unknown. In conclusion, what do we have here? The extraordinary events over the skies of Italy in 1954 and the subsequent discovery of the Angel Scroll were not isolated incidents, but part of a broader narrative concerning modern unidentified aerial phenomena hinting at an ancient religion, blurring the line between angelology, demonology, and alien technology. Although the 1954 event appears to have been a real incident, its connection to a scroll that may or may not exist is the weakest point of this narrative. That said, why would the Benedictine monks go public with their discovery when ultimately no profit motive can be gained from said artifact, even if it were proven real? The connections between the Essenes, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the modern UFO phenomena suggest a continuity of mystery and knowledge that spans millennia, with Jordan again being at the center of it, as we have shown in previous episodes and in future episodes inshallah. The Essenes' possible interactions with the otherworldly beings and their meticulous preservation of texts laden with mysticism hint at a deeper understanding of the cosmos that science is only beginning to grasp. But what do you think? Are the Angel Scrolls real or fake? And if they're real, are they an ancient work of fiction or reality? And if reality, does its content pertain to angels, aliens, or something else? And what do you think about the Dead Sea Scrolls in general? Let us know your opinion. Like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.